Hey everyone, this is part 4 of my documentary, and if you have not seen part 3 of this documentary, you really won't know what I'm talking about right now, but by all means you can watch. But I need to go back to part 3 to explain to you what happened after that. And this is all a product and part of parental alienation and how I have been alienated from my son. I'm quite exhausted right now, but I promised myself that I would do this. I do have an 15 or 16-month-old, I should say. She's 16 months now, a 16-month-old, and an 11-year-old little boy, and they have me going all day long. And I just have to share that it's amazing. Being a mom is amazing. I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting off subject here, but I would not trade it for the world, for anything in this world. But when it hits, I don't even know what time it is. I think it's like, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock right now here in New Jersey, and I'm exhausted. I'm usually in bed. So anyway, going back to, this is like the me and the raw right now. Going back to what I said in my last documentary, part 3, that my son had locked himself in the bathroom, and mind you, he's young. I mean, he is very young at this point. He is like, I think he's like 7. I mean, this is like, I think he had to be like 7 years old when this happened. So when I seen that my 7-year-old locked himself in the bathroom and I was coming for a visitation, I was so distraught by that, because it's not okay. And that, my ex just thought it was okay that this was happening. Basically because he is the alienator, and it was just another thing, another dig at me, just to get me to give up. And I didn't want to give up. And so I did approach him about the visitation, and that I was there to get him, and, how much I tried to just express to him how much I wanted him to come on the visit. And he just screamed at me through the bathroom door that, he hated me, and, that I'm a liar, and I lied to Dad. That's what he said to me. I lied to Dad. I lied to Dad. I think I talked a little bit about this in the third part of my documentary. And, from that point, I just could not believe what was going on, because I had previously expressed to my ex something that our son had, in his way, confidentially expressed to me. But as a mom, I thought that it was the right thing to confide and to communicate with my ex about it, because I was concerned. And it wasn't in any way that, he should have had to approach our son about it. It was just something that I wanted to talk to him about. And, my biggest mistake was telling him not to tell our son that, I'm trying to establish this bond with him. And if he were to go back and say, oh, well, your mom said this and your mom said that, that would just totally destroy everything. And he knew that. So that's a part of parental alienation. So that was part of what I spoke about in part 3. So anyway, going back to that, it was just a very sad moment, because I had to walk away and leave him there and not have a visit with him. And it was very upsetting to me. So within, I don't know if it was a few weeks after that, I had gotten a phone call from my father about an emergency hearing that had happened, and my ex had tried to get my visitation rights totally taken away and everything taken away, basically because he was saying what happened, and he's blaming it on me and made me look like this terrible person. But I wasn't there to defend myself, and the courts just kind of threw it out and just said, well, that's one good defense I have to say about the courts. I was not there, and they did just kind of let it go. So I don't know if that was December of, 2005. It might have been. I can't remember the exact date, but I have all the court papers to prove all this stuff. Literally, he could not get what he wanted in court that day. So the next day, I think it was like the 21st. So the 20th was like this emergency hearing he went for, and the 21st was the next day. I'm pretty sure it was the 21st of December. Don't know exact year, but anyway, so I'm kind of mumbo jumbo right here, right now. So Dyfus shows up at my door the next day, and I'm just smiling, not because it's a happy thing, but just like it's just kind of like a disgusted thing. I'm just so disgusted even talking about this right now, but it's something that I need to share because I'm sure maybe others, many of you have gone through this, especially when it comes to custody disputes and things like that. I mean, it's so easy to just call Dyfus and say, oh, so-and-so abused my son, or so-and-so abused and did this. Okay, so granted, there is a lot of abuse out there on kids, and I do not agree with that at all. But I mean, I'm not saying that, calling Dyfus is a bad thing. Child Protective Services, I should say. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But in certain situations, it just is like just an extra dig at, a custody dispute. It's like, I can't get my way in court, so let me see if I can get my way here. This is like my next resort. So anyway, Dyfus shows up at my door. Mind you, it's only my husband, our son, and me, and that's it. I didn't have our daughter yet, and our son was 2 at the time. He is now 11. So I was like, oh my goodness, I knew about the court date before because I'd gotten the phone call, and now Dyfus shows up at my door. That's weird. That's really weird. And he couldn't get what he wanted. So she comes. It was a female, and the first thing she said was, after she had introduced herself, was that she just didn't expect to walk into this kind of home. And I just didn't know. I didn't know what to say. I had no idea. I was like, well, what's going on? I mean, I don't understand why you're here. Basically, she said there was a complaint that was made that I mentally abused our son, my alienated son, and I physically abused my husband and I's son. So I just could not believe what I was hearing. This is just disgusting. And the worst part is that my husband was mortified. And that was so hard for me, that that this could happen. And I knew exactly where it was coming from the moment, honestly, the moment that the person came to the house. Anybody would know that. You know, your ex is in court the day before trying to take my rights away, and then all of a sudden there's these accusations. It's weird. So basically she makes she makes me pretty much strip down our son, our 2-year-old son, you know, to be checked out, to make sure that he didn't have any bruises and stuff. Like, I can't even tell you the frustration and the just what goes through my head right now about that. Like, and how my husband felt. It was like disgusting. It was disgusting. And this is things that happened, that truly happened, that people just don't understand and they just don't know about. And, you know, you can't judge a book by its cover. You have to know before you judge. I will definitely say that. Okay? And you don't know what my husband and I have been through unless you have been through it yourself. So anyway, that was mortifying. Nothing wrong with our son. We sit down at the table and she basically, they cannot tell you who made the allegations. It's illegal for them to do that. So I asked her, I did ask the woman, you know, well, I don't understand. And then I explained to her what was going on with, you know, my alienated child. And she could not believe it. She was, you know, in shock. And she did say that a lot of these cases are brought about because of custody disputes. And she didn't exactly say, you know, she didn't ever say once exactly who it was. But everything that she did say pointed fingers. It was like red flag. Hello. I'm not a genius. You know, no genius needs to figure that out. Who did this? Who made the allegation? Because she clearly brought up how the child who was mentally abused locked himself in the bathroom. Well, where did this happen? Only in my ex's mother's house where he resided at that time. That's the only place. And the only people that would have known that were his wife and him and our son. So go figure. And then I kind of knew, and she knew, the social worker knew that I knew, and I did tell her a few things that were just, you know, were very disturbing to me when I entered the home. And so she did her own investigation after that. She told me that she would be going to visit with them. And she said we had a beautiful home, and she just did not expect this from the allegations. So basically, a few weeks later, I got a paper in the mail that said that the case was closed. And the woman, I just remember her telling me that she would help me in any way that she could. And then she ended up being relocated to a different county. So I lost touch with her. But this is just one incident that happened. It just points parental alienation. The alienator can't get his way. So again, they will do anything in their power to try and exclude you, totally eliminate you from the child's life. Just like it's happened to me right now. And he got everything he has wanted, everything. And now I am making this documentary because it is the right thing to do. And there is so much more to what I am saying.